I bought the little blue cottage on Pacific Cliff Drive because the listing swore it was free of HOA restrictions, no architectural review boards, no paint color police, no monthly fees for a pool nobody used. The house sat one lot outside Seacliff Estates, the gated community next door, where every mansion had floor-to-ceiling windows facing the Pacific like greedy eyes. My lot was grandfathered. Out when the HOA formed in 2009, I triple-checked the title report. Clear, clean, mine. For 8 months, everything was perfect. I fixed the leaking roof, painted the siding driftwood gray because I damn well felt like it, and started designing the one thing I'd always wanted. A rooftop office where I could write code while watching whales migrate. 12-16 feet. Cedar shingles to match the house. Big sliding glass doors opening to a deck. Nothing crazy. The city planning department stamped the permit in 3 weeks. Then came the letter. It arrived on thick cream stationery with the Seacliff Estates. Homeowners Association seal in gold foil. Inside was a single page from Karen Whitmore, President and Chair of the Architectural Compliance Committee. It informed me that my unauthorized structure violated Section 4.2c of the CC&Rs and constituted a visual nuisance that materially impaired the panoramic ocean views of multiple Seacliff residences. It demanded I cease construction immediately and remove all materials within 10 days or face legal action. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my coffee. I wasn't in their HOA. I emailed back a polite scan of my deed and the city permit. Karen replied within 6 minutes. We are aware of your technical exemption. However, your structure negatively impacts our members' property values. We will see you in court. That was the first time I met Karen in person. She marched down the sidewalk in a white linen blouse, sunglasses the size of satellite dishes, holding a measuring tape like it was Excalibur. She stood at my property line and declared, "That thing is going to be taller than our second-story balconies. Unacceptable." I smiled. "Morning, neighbor. You're welcome to come up when it's done and enjoy the view from my side. It's even better." Her lips disappeared into a thin red slash. "This isn't over, Mr. Harper." I went back to framing the rooftop joists, humming. I had no idea she'd already filed an emergency injunction. The injunction hit like a tsunami. At 7:12 a.m., while my concrete guys were pumping the rooftop slab, 2 sheriff's deputies and a court clerk rolled up in separate cars. Karen stood behind them in a navy blazer, arms folded, looking like she'd been born for this moment. The clerk handed me a temporary restraining order thicker than my tax return. Construction halted immediately or I'd be in contempt, fines, possible jail. My contractor, Luis, stared at the sky and muttered every Spanish curse word he knew. The concrete in the pump was already setting. We had 40 minutes before it turned into a $9,000 rock. I called my attorney, Rachel, who was still in her spin class. She answered, gasping, "Stall, I'm on my way." Karen allowed herself a tiny smile. We tried to be reasonable. I looked at the deputies. "Officers, can you give me 30 minutes to pump this load onto the deck? It's literally hardening in the hose right now." The older deputy shrugged. "Not my circus, not my monkeys. Judge says stop, we stop." Luis and I made an executive decision. We pumped the concrete into 4 home depot buckets and a kiddie pool we found in my garage. Neighbors filmed it on their phones. Someone started a TikTok set to yakety sax. By the time Rachel screeched up in her Tesla, we looked like we were filming a low-budget disaster movie. Karen leaned in. "This is only the beginning. We have experts, view obstruction studies, appraisal impacts. You're going to lose everything you've spent." Rachel, still in leggings, wiped sweat from her brow and grinned like a shark. "Mrs. Whitmore, your CC&Rs have the same jurisdiction over my client's property as the Planet Fitness terms of service. See you in 2 weeks at the hearing." Karen's smile faltered for the first time. That night I sat on the half-poured slab, drinking a warm beer, watching the sun sink into the Pacific. The view was obscene. Dolphins, orange sky, the whole postcard. I realized Karen wasn't wrong about one thing. From her balcony, my little office was going to sit exactly where a slice of that infinity used to be. I just didn't care. But I should have cared more about what she did next. 2 weeks later, we were in Department 17 of the Superior Court, a beige room that smelled like old coffee and desperation. Karen's legal team rolled in a 6-foot architectural model of the entire cliff. complete with tiny mansions and a removable replica of my rooftop office. Their expert, Dr. Reginald Park, wore a bow tie and spoke like he was narrating a PBS special. He testified that my structure would severely degrade the aesthetic continuity of Seacliff Estates and cause an aggregate $1.2 million drop-in. Property values, roughly $240,000 per affected home. He had charts, graphs, a 3D fly-through video. The judge looked mildly impressed. Rachel cross-examined him for 45 minutes and destroyed him in 4. Dr. Park, your report cites a 2022 study from Malibu. Was the control group also outside the HOA jurisdiction? Well, no. And the depreciation formula you used, did you account for the fact that my client's property has 0 covenants running with the land? Long pause. It's an emergent harm framework. Rachel smiled sweetly. So you made it up. The gallery, half my neighbors, half Karen's, actually laughed. Karen shot eye daggers that could slice rebar. Then came the surprise witness. Karen took the stand in a cream suit, voice trembling with righteous indignation. She talked about community standards, shared coastal heritage, and how her late husband had bought their home, specifically for the unobstructed healing horizon. She even teared up on cue. I almost applauded the performance. Rachel stood. Mrs. Whitmore, isn't it true that in 2018, you added a 3rd-story addition to your own home that blocked the ocean view of the property? Directly behind you? Karen blinked. That was approved by the committee, which you chair. Moved to strike as non-responsive. The judge suppressed a smirk. By the end of the day, the temporary injunction was dissolved. I was free to finish the roof. Rachel high-fived me in the hallway. We won, she said. I should have known better. Karen didn't lose. She escalated. 3 days later, every news van in Southern California was parked outside my house. Someone had leaked drone footage with the headline, Local Writer Destroys Millionaires. Ocean Views with Ugly Box. I came home to find my front yard TP'd with printed copies of the complaint. Karen had gone nuclear, private nuisance, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and a brand new claim for view easement by prescription. She wanted $3 million now, and she'd found a judge shopping new venue. The new venue was Santa Barbara, where the bench reportedly loved coastal preservation. Karen's team smelled blood. They flew in a UCLA law professor who testified that California common law recognizes ancient lights, some medieval doctrine, about not blocking your neighbor's windows. Rachel objected so loudly the bailiff threatened to clear the courtroom. I took the stand on day 5. Karen's attorney grilled me for 2 hours about my selfish skybunker, my disregard for community harmony, my provocative social media posts. Yes, they subpoenaed my Reddit history. I kept calm until he showed a photo of my half-built office with the caption, I'd posted, sorry not sorry. The ocean still exists, just look left. The courtroom tittered. Karen looked ready to combust. Then Rachel called her final witness, an 87-year-old woman named Dolores Ortiz, wearing a Caltrans hard hat and a grin. Dolores had lived in the original 1940s, Cliff Shack, my shack, before it was subdivided. She brought the original 1938 deed with a hand-drawn survey. It showed a 15-foot scenic easement granted to the public in perpetuity, running straight through the heart of Seacliff Estates' view corridor, recorded so the public could forever access the bluff trail that my house now sat on. The easement had been forgotten when the rich people built their walls. Rachel dropped the bombshell quietly. Mrs. Whitmore, your client's mansions are the ones encroaching on a public view easement. My client's structure is entirely within his lot and restores sightlines the public lost when Seacliff gated the trail. The judge's eyebrows nearly left his forehead. Karen's lead counsel asked for a recess. They never came back strong. 3 days later, the case was dismissed with prejudice. Karen's side had to pay my legal fees, $187,000, and the court ordered Seacliff Estates to reopen the public trail within 90 days, right past their infinity pools. I finished the rooftop office in peace. Opening day, I invited the entire neighborhood, HOA and non-HOA alike, for sunset beers. Even Dolores showed up with homemade tamales. Karen never came. Her house went on the market 6 weeks later, quietly, $800,000 below asking. Some nights I sit up there, laptop glowing, waves crashing below. The view is exactly the same as it ever was. Turns out it never belonged to any of us. It belonged to everyone.